Warning: this program may contain explicit language that may be considered offensive or inappropriate to children and some adults.
The following content is intended for mature audiences only.
Hey everybody, welcome to Nelly Media's weekly panel discussion, Talk It Out, where we always get together and talk it out. I am not Duryea, as you can plainly see. Duryea has fallen into the fortune of having to be at rehearsals for a show, and so I am guest hosting this week. My name is Danny Oliver. I've been on the panel several times before, and I'm a writer. I am the author of a independent comic book that successfully funded a Kickstarter, and I am part of a media entertainment company that runs like games and other sort of content on Twitch. And I'm really stoked to be here on Talk It Out as the guest host and to get into it with some discussion on voter suppression, what it is, what it isn't, etc. And of course, with us, we have several guests. So I'm going to bring them in one at a time here. We're going to start with my friend, Mo Smith, a critical thinker that's too conservative to be a liberal, too liberal to be a conservative. You can also check them out on their social media at Mo Smith Pro. And it goes without saying that donations are always welcome. Cash App at $Mo Smith Pro. Here's Mo Smith, everybody.
Thank you so much. Hey, boo, how you doing?
I'm here. Yeah, we're good. How are you?
I'm doing fabulous, and I love being here at Talk It Out.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Ready
all right.
to get it in and go
yes,
to bed.
Yes.
Amen.
Our second panelist is, not a lot to really say. Does a little DJing on the side, but mostly just another guy named Jim. Let's bring in Mr. Jim Farr. Hey.
I can't hear Danny, so this is super awkward.
Wow.
I'm going to go out and come back in. I just can't hear Danny. I can hear you, Mo.
Oh, hey, how you doing? He
Great.
said, hey, and welcome to the show.
Yeah.
Nice, glad to be here.
How was your week?
Fantastic. I'm going to go out and I'll come back in. I love you.
You do that, and we can go to the next. Yeah.
All right. Good times. While we're waiting on Jim to come back, we're going to move to, also been on the show several times, Samantha Hardin. Sam is Atlanta born and bred with two beautiful daughters. She has an edible business called Marley Bears that focuses on making THC-infused gummy bears. And she's a realtor. She is the go-to agent for the Atlanta real estate market. And before getting into real estate, she was an educator and founded the dance department at a local Atlanta charter school, KIPP Atlanta Collegiate. And besides her interest in cooking, real estate, and dance, she loves the water and is a mermaid at heart. Everybody, Miss Samantha Hardin.
Hey guys, thank you so much for having me. And let me just say, Danny, you're doing an excellent job. You had me cracking up backstage. So I'm out, talk it out.
I gotta do it. That's like that's the whole show right there. Actually, that's like you tune in for that period.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Okay. Yes. So our next panelist here is also a returning panelist. Kristen Jeter is a performing artist who has graced stages all over the U.S. and internationally. She is currently based in Atlanta, where she grows vegetables, sings in a band called OK88, and has a scruffy terrier named Rudolph. Miss Kristen Jeter, everybody. Hello.
Now talk it out. Now talk it out.
That's right.
Talk it out.
That's
gonna be the running joke of the night.
Yep. I'm, gotta respect and honor the originator, right? So,
absolutely.
Do your best anyway. And finally, the infamous Ricky Z. She's a mom, an educator, social media manager, and a panelist on sister podcast Geekin' Out, which airs every other Monday at 8 p.m. She is the heart of the show and the producer. Please, everybody, welcome Miss Ricky Z.
I don't know how I feel about being infamous, but hey, everyone.
Infamous.
You are to us.
Oh, my
Infamous.
goodness.
That's
Yes.
Hey, everybody.
Hey, Ricky is the glue, honey, for Will Nelly Media.
Yep, that's right. Holds it
better let 'em know.
together.
Yes.
Holds it together. So,
Oh, my goodness. But I'm so glad to be with y'all tonight.
indeed. So, tonight's main topic is going to be voter suppression because, that's been a big topic just all around the social media sphere.
Can I ask what you said about me? Because since I didn't get to hear you.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I said, this DJ is just another guy named Jim.
There we go. Perfect. All right.
Yeah.
I love you. Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's true.
I had you
It's
covered.
true.
I had you
Thank
covered.
you. Thank you.
Yeah, so voter suppression, which is a hot topic, trending on social media and everything because of laws that are being passed in Georgia, the various companies responding, how people are responding, and just what the discussion about voter suppression, what is it, and why do people see it as voter suppression when other people see some things as just common sense measures, etc. So we're going to get into that in the second hour, but of course the first hour, our format is always current events. And I have not been following things like Beyonce or other things that Duryea is really fond of covering, and and I'm just going to chalk it up to nothing happened for that. So what we are going to talk about, we're going to start light. This is just an interesting story coming out of Florida. Apparently there was a couple that attempted to hold a wedding at a huge mansion, like a $5 million mansion, but they didn't have permission, and the owner didn't know, and so when they tried to have the wedding there, the owner basically told them, no, get off my property, and called the police and had them removed. No charges filed. Apparently the mansion was for sale, and the groom had toured it earlier, and I guess what he thought in his head was like, if it's for sale, the owner's not going to be there, right?
Right.
So,
Scammers.
This is a Florida man story to me.
It's like who authorized this? But he did. He authorized it himself.
So
Yeah.
So is it too presumptuous for me to say the caucasity?
So
I don't know, because that
let's
sounds
see.
like a nig rig to me. That sounds like a
man.
workaround.
That is a nignog.
Courtney Wilson and Shanita Jones invited family and friends to their dream home and estate.
Shit, I take that
Called
back. I
Called
take that
That was
back.
like that SNL sketch.
I still don't know Courtney Wilson. Shanita Jones. Hard to say.
No, but Courtney B. Vance. I mean,
Yeah, I know. I'm not. Yeah, I just.
yeah.
I mean, that one goes either way, right? Yeah. So.
They must have been from Detroit or something. I don't know.
Yeah.
I know a black dude named Courtney. I grew up with one.
Yeah, but so did I. So.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I stayed in an
Yeah, it
Airbnb
happened.
once that was a big house that was about to be sold. So it was like the downstairs was staged for the realtors and the upstairs was just like beds with sheets on them. But so it was like we got this
Right.
big huge property that had like alcoves and stuff like that, but upstairs it was completely bare. So I could see how that. I could see how he would think that like nothing would happen, but it's like, what do you know about the property? Do you know how long it's been on the market? Like, have you?
I mean,
surveilled it?
I'm
Did
just
you
gonna
kiss the
say,
joint?
yeah, as a realtor, like I show properties every day, and I list properties, and a lot of times agents will go up to the door. You can have specific instructions in the listing, and agents will still very inappropriately go and like their buyers are like, oh, we're in the neighborhood, let's just see this one too, and it's like, no, you don't know if it's vacant, you don't know if there's an alarm, you don't know if it's tenants in place.
Right.
Like, a lot of people make assumptions about houses that are for sale that are very incorrect.
Indeed.
Furthermore, I want to verbally smack the taste out of his mouth, because Florida's a stand your ground state.
Right.
Him and as
Speaking
well as
of
his
those
family and
things.
friends could have all been shot up by the owner, and there would have been nothing that anyone could have done. And on top of that, the police could have did just the same. You were putting people's life in danger, all because you didn't want to pay money for an Airbnb mansion. Because there are out there as well as there are event halls that are wide open, especially in Florida. So I will need him to do a lot better. Him and his brand new wife. Congratulations on the marriage. I think y'all deserve each other.
Because it's not like Florida has been worried about this pandemic.
Absolutely not.
This Pantene Provine.
Not this parallelogram.
I'm not saying anybody was wrong, but I mean they kind of got away with it, didn't they? They just got like, all right, get out of here.
Well, they didn't actually have the ceremony. They came for the ceremony and were turned away.
Still sounds like a win to me.
So, I mean, yeah, they just had to reschedule, I guess,
like
you
we
know?
said, they didn't get shot, so it's...
Yeah, you know.
There's so much that but I'm thinking, like, there's so much you would have to put into it. Like, you can't just... I would think you would want, or at least the bride wouldn't be like, oh, let's just pop into this place and just, like, have this ceremony real quick. No, like, I want to decorate it. I want... caterer. Like, if I'm not paying for this big old mansion, I'm gonna put money in everything else. So I'm gonna pay for this caterer, I'm gonna pay for this decoration, some flowers, real obvious things that would make it really hard for me to come sneak in and out of a house.
I think you're just rolling the dice, right? Like, because you're going to pay for the caterers, you're going to pay for, like, your photographers and stuff, but they're, like, trying to save the money on the location. So it's just like a gamble. And if you win, hey, the location's free. If you lose, you got to pay the caterers twice. I mean,
no risk, no reward. Right,
exactly. So the owner, Nathan Finkel, remembered the groom from about a few months ago, and was because he was touring the property because it was for sale.
He was casing the joint.
That's what he was doing. And he said that the guy asked. He said the guy asked if he could have the wedding gear, and he straight up said no. So it wasn't even like
just disrespectful.
Wow, you even asked, and you still did it anyway.
Yep, and figured he asked if the guy was living in the main house, and of course the guy wasn't living in the main house because
of course he wasn't.
It's for sale. But they didn't realize that he was living on like a smaller structure on the property, and so he was there.
It doesn't matter. People sell their houses that they live in all the time.
Right.
Yeah,
that's funny. Like, I get not wanting to, maybe trying to cut corners and not start a marriage with a mountain of debt from a wedding, but still having it, even faking it at a mansion proves that you were flexing. So, like, that's
and now you got a record. Like, it's on record now.
That's what a court marriage is for. If you want to,
yeah. I was like, Florida man.
It's Florida. A man from Florida did such and such.
Florida man, yeah, a Florida man every time, right? Yeah, this is. I won't be surprised if this isn't on Weird News. There's a podcast called like Weird News, and every Friday it's Florida Man Friday, and all the articles about Florida Man basically. This will probably be on. And sadly, so congratulations right now are a little bit early, a little bit preemptive because they have now not been married since, but as of yesterday when this came out.
So I probably wouldn't get married if I were me. I'd be pissed as hell as the bride. I'd be like, you almost got me arrested because you didn't actually get this place.
Well, you think she didn't know? Maybe
I was about to say she went along with the whole thing already.
How do you know?
I mean, she might not have known.
How do you not know though? Like, how do you not know?
Because like, what are you telling the caterers?
How do we know that she went along? I mean, if your boo thing is like, I got this boo. Don't worry.
Exactly.
Set up the caterers. Set up the. Like, how would you? I mean, honestly, how would you know? Unless you in his bank accounts, and I mean. I don't
Unless
know.
you got the confirmation email.
Even then,
and
you don't
forwarded
know
to
because
you.
like you might see something, you might think it's a deposit for the thing, but really it's some like other stuff he's got going
Yeah,
on that you don't want to know about. So,
exactly.
But like I don't think of much of like grooms planning weddings as far as like the venue. Like yes, they might be forced to tail along to tour the venue, but like them actually having to book it themselves.
I
and
mean,
being under
if he
the
came to
name.
Bay, if he came to Bay and was like, "Yo, I know I'm not gonna do a lot on the planning part, but I got this great hookup at this
Right.
mansion. I got this part. You get everything else."
Oh,
Or they might
Courtney.
have been like, "Hey, we can't
Oh, Courtney.
financially afford all of this, so you got to take this part, and I got to take that part." And him being cheap
Exactly.
was just like, "Well, I can't afford no venue, so this is what we about to do."
But see, for me though, I would have been like, okay, cool. So like, I probably
That
have
was
like a
just
folder
lazy.
with all the documents that I needed to make sure that like all this stuff was taken care of, like contract, because you need like a contract with those things, don't you? Like you do with the whole, like
yeah,
you
Photoshop
yeah, they
just
make you
is a
sign
thing.
stuff.
you could have
Yeah.
signed
Yeah,
it.
but okay, I'm gonna be real. I just
fake that.
I bartend sometimes on the side because I used to be a bartender. So sometimes my friends that have party events and they like their bartenders quit unexpected. Like I'll come through for them. It's not what I do, but I'll
Hey.
come through for them. I literally just
Hey.
bartended this wedding that was in the backyard of a regular person's house, and it was a friend. I mean, a beautiful mansion in like I don't know Marietta somewhere, and the lady what she does hair. It was a client of hers that when she found out she was getting married, she was like, "Oh, use my house. We have this beautiful backyard." It literally
Mm-hmm.
was a hookup type situation.
Mm-hmm.
So
Mm-hmm.
normally, yeah, with an event space, you would have a contract and all of that kind of stuff. But there are always one-off situations. Like, who
Yeah.
knows what he told her? Maybe she did know, and she was down, and maybe she didn't. I don't know.
Maybe she
I
did,
My
maybe
don't
she
know.
my
didn't.
theory is that he told her it was an Airbnb.
Mm.
I'm so serious because
He
they have
have
those
told
mansions
the
on
truth.
there.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
See.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Must have known it was going on. Hey, just want to say hi to Marshall, checking us out from Birmingham, UK, apparently.
Hey.
That's
So
cool.
thanks for tapping in.
That is
Um,
awesome.
I mean, so like, what are your thoughts on just weddings in general? Because I mean, that's a big expense that people pay into for a lot of pomp and ceremony. That I mean, I'm not rich, right? So
Right.
if I was gonna do something, I'd rather like save money for like a honeymoon someplace crazy, which maybe that's what he's trying to do. But
Maybe.
but the ceremony itself, I mean, it's a dress you wear once, right? Hopefully, and then all these people you invite over, half of them you don't even want to talk to anyway, and and it's just this big headache, right? And
They
you
have
just like,
there's a show on like Netflix or something like that that's like either you're gonna get it's marriage or mortgage, I think is what it's called.
Ooh, the mortgage.
They show
Yeah.
exactly. I don't understand how they don't pick mortgage every time. But
I know.
So the idea is like they show you your pubic. They show you your perfect
Your perfect pubic wedding.
hairs, your perfect wedding, and then a house that's within your range and all that kind of stuff. But I just don't understand how they equate. Like I would never pay the same for a house that I would for just the wedding. It didn't make sense.
People do it every day.
I know they do
tens
it.
of thousands
This
of
is just
dollars,
me.
and that's not even like really like crazy weddings. I mean, it's wild.
Like,
Here's my theory on it.
go ahead, Mo.
People are and they're more invested in the fantasy of marriage than the actual work of marriage. Meaning that they want they want the big wedding, the expensive reception, even though back in the
The
day when you
status.
had those big type of weddings, people would actually give you money and gifts in order to offset that cost. We're no longer in that era. People just have that expectation. I'm gonna come and get me some free liquor and some food, and and then also the worst part about it is the rings. People are so obsessed with, oh, I gotta have a diamond, I gotta have a diamond. That started in the 30s with the beers. I
It's
mean,
all a
quiet as it's
racket.
kept, it's a racket.
Well, and they
But
say they
peop-
can make cubic zirconiums that are indistinguishable between that and diamonds, but people got to have diamonds just so they can flex on people.
I mean, there's a rumor that diamonds are not even that rare. It's just that the De Beers Corporation owns 90% of all the mines, so they can give out as much as they want. Because I remember as a kid, diamonds weren't that expensive, but all of a sudden when I became adult, they became really, really expensive.
So, like, when I got married, honestly, I think it probably didn't cost more than, like, less than $3,000. I think
you're married?
Currently separated, but yes. But you know how Georgia doesn't have like a legally separated.
Girl, yes, I already know. My bad.
Yeah,
Sorry, I'm gonna get in your business. I just didn't know that. My bad.
No, but I'll talk about it on here. It's no big deal. But like when I got married, it couldn't have cost more than a few $1,000s. I fronted, I think, a good portion of that myself. Like I was working to pay for this. And, you know, we had at our church that we went to, like, for a while. And so we had some good helping either here and there for different things. And, like, my mother-in-law was really helpful. She's always helpful with just, like, providing certain things. But, like, I couldn't imagine, like, my head can't wrap around spending that much money on something like that.
I'm kind of like you. I mean, we got married young, but even still, like, we stuck to a budget, which sounds kind of a lot. Because, I mean, I'm gonna be honest. I have friends decorate. I know a lot of people. I'm born and raised in Atlanta, so I had a lot of people helping me out. Like I had a friend of mine. She literally did all the decor for me at cost, like what the materials cost. And we got married at a church that I grew up at for $200, and I bought a dress that was supposed to be, I don't know, $2,000-$3,000, but it had sun damage, so I got it for $200. And you know what I'm saying? Like I literally cut all these costs, and it still ended up being.
What does sun damage mean?
It got kind of yellow because it was in the.
Where can I find? This sounds $20.
If the white dress, because it was exposed to sunlight over time, because it was like in the window, it kind of turned cream.
Let me know where it is, and I'll go find me a nice cheap wedding dress.
But anyway, so I'm saying
I'll wear it for that much.
We were very cheap. Like I was working as a teacher. I had parents that like had bakeries. They were making the wedding cake for us. You know, like. We were very cheap, and it still way exceeded. I mean, it was still probably close to $10,000.
Oh God!
And we were like super cheap, like everywhere we could cut corners.
But you are
like wedding, right? Weddings are so expensive. It's like as soon as you say wedding, it's like price tag.
Yeah,
right. We literally cut costs at every corner. Mm-hmm. And we still ended up with what I consider to be, I would never like $10,000 on one day, but it happened. So, and now we're divorced.
Compared to some other folks.
Well, the average cost of a wedding in the United States in 2019, because not 2020, was $33,900. So almost 34 grand straight up. Wow. New Jersey has the highest average at 53 grand. And Utah's the lowest at just under 20 grand. Average. So that's like for every person
much lower than that.
For every person who, you know, does a $1,000 wedding, there's like somebody that's just, you know, that's way up there. But
no, but like the what you said was like that was at least my first year salary of teaching. Yeah. Holy crap.
Yeah.
No.
Listen. Let me go ahead and speak to the people. Dear future wife, when we get married, we're going to the courthouse, and we're going on a vacation.
I'm gonna be real. If I could do it again,
no party.
I would do like a destination wedding. Like I would get married on the beach with the people that could afford it, and then I would come back to Atlanta and throw a bum ass party. That's what I would do.
No, I'd party. I've already said F marriage. I'm not doing it again. I don't care. I don't want to do it. I don't want to do it. I don't care. I'm fine.
You're still in your separation phase. You got a lot of.
You know, the thing is, the destination marriages don't really cost that much more than the average because you're still paying for all the stuff. It's just like now just travel. So if you're going to pay like 30 grand for a wedding at home, why not just pay 33, 34 for a wedding abroad, like in Hawaii or in, wherever you want to do? Because that's what it's saying here. It's saying the average for, it's got all the information. It's $5,000 difference. That's it.
On the average, that's the dang on
Yeah.
thing.
So I'm just saying, if you're already going to pay 30
on the average, I could definitely see myself just being happy, like in a sundress with my husband on the beach, and that's cool.
Yes,
That's cute.
Because I'm a mermaid,
That's
so that's what I really
Yeah.
want
I hear
anyway.
you. I hear
It
you.
sounds like a way to cut down on guests too, because maybe not
Yes.
everybody can go all the way to Hawaii, so automatically 50
That way.
turns to 30 guests.
Yes,
There you
that
go.
cousin
Or
that
not
lives like
even,
10
hell,
states
10.
over.
Yeah. Yeah. Just bring like that core crew.
Right.
Right.
All right. Well, go ahead.
I was just gonna say, what other current events do we have on the docket?
I was going to get into the next one, but first, before we do that, I missed this at the beginning. So let's go ahead and jump into a couple of our commercials and see what folks are doing, friends of Nelly Media are doing out there.
Hey everybody, my name's Chris.
I'm Duryea.
I'm Ricky Z.
Justin.
And Julian.
Have you heard about Anchor.fm? It's the easiest way to make a podcast. First off, it's free.
Oh, I love free, especially when we're talking creation tools that allow you to record and edit right from your phone and computer. And Anchor will actually distribute your podcast for you. So as soon as you're finished recording, you can be heard on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and many other platforms.
And you can make money off of your podcast with no minimum listenership. It's basically a one-stop shop for everything you need. So head on over to Anchor.fm and download the mobile app now. And make sure you come back and geek out with us.
All right. So that was what Anchor FM, which is where you guys have your podcast hosted, and then of course the Shadowrun we do every Tuesday night. Duryea's one of the players, and I actually run that game for us over on Rem Alternis. It's a good time. We are coming to the end of season 1, and the end of it's season 5, but it's actually season 1, and we are actually going to have a new person running it and set up some of the new cast. So that is going to open up an opportunity for Duryea and myself to maybe find something else on Tuesday nights. So we can talk about that.
Could do.
Yeah.
Dance party.
Oh, wow.
Dance
Jam.
party. All right.
That's right.
So
what's geeking out? What's the next one, and what's it gonna be on, Ricky?
All right, so this tomorrow will be the last episode of The Falcon and the Winter Soldier. So we have to have a review of the entire season this Monday on Geeking Out. So like I made sure the guys, I said, guys, are you watching The Falcon and Winter Soldier? And like, why? I'm like, no, you have to watch this, especially after episode 4. If you haven't watched it, go ahead and watch it. But like episode 4, they needed to watch it because everyone was talking about it, and we need to be talking about it. So yes, this Monday, 8 p.m. on Twitch at Daygamer and Facebook Live and our YouTube channel. Join us at 8 o'clock for Geeking Out, the Falcon and the Winter Soldier review. Be there.
Put me in the game, Coach.
Awesome.
Put me in the game. I know it's the last minute. Put me in the game. I'm off on Monday. Please put me in the game, Coach. Please.
You know I'm not the right coach. I'm the assistant coach.
Well, look. Let me be the backup coach. I'm ready. I've been born for this. Justice for Mo. Justice for Mo.
Justice for Mo.
All right. So next on current events, there's a movie coming out in the next couple weeks, I think, on Netflix called Army of the Dead. It's featuring David Bautista. He is the lead in that. And one of the side characters was played by comedian Chris D'Elia, who. Yeah, I mean he's been on like a few films. He's a stand-up comedian. He's been on like a lot of the roasts and stuff like that. And so he was playing this sort of like cocky helicopter pilot that was kind of that ace pilot type, you know. And but
was
then there
he
was
on Whitney with the long hair. That guy.
He did, yes,
Like
yeah.
the kick in his stand-ups. Okay, great.
Yes.
Yeah. So apparently. There's been some substantiated allegations of sexual harassment, grooming, and solicitation of nudes from underage girls. So, the movie had pretty much wrapped all filming, but they went ahead and made the decision to replace him from the film. And they replaced him with comedian Tig Notaro. If you don't know who that is, she is also a stand-up comedian. She was on Star Trek Discovery the last couple of seasons. She was the new sort of engineer, older, kind of real dry sense of humor, and just kind of was like over it, you know. And just every time they were like, "We got to do this," she'd just be like, "Calm down, no, just fine."
Okay.
And also she's a lesbian. And so it was interesting to me to see, like, when they replaced this guy that was going to be this hotshot, you know, pilot, ace pilot and all that kind of stuff. After what happened, they like completely turned around and went the other way. So this is not just about like, oh, is that good for the comedian? But also like, this is the stuff that we should be doing in our media, right? When you hold people accountable and you bring to light the things that are going on. And I'm wondering what everybody thinks about that.
First of all, it's not shocking, these allegations, if you've ever heard any of Chris D'Elia's stand-up. He's corny. It's like bro humor. You like it when you're 16 because you're like, oh, that's a funny voice that he just did. But it's I'm glad he got replaced. I'm even more glad it was Tig Notaro, because if you haven't seen any of her stuff, you should check it out. But she was in the Snyder cut of whatever's. I'm not good with any of that kind of stuff, but she was in and something, and everybody got all hot and bothered. But she's hilarious and a very dry sense of humor, like Danny was saying, and good on the industry. Put a woman in there because she's better. She's going to be funnier.
Well,
it's not this, typical bro.
She's giving me like Ellen without like the corny dancing vibes.
Yeah, I mean, she's really funny.
Allegations too.
Right.
Yeah. I think you're just. I think James. I think you're just thinking about her being replacing Chris D'Elia because Snyder is this is a Snyder movie, Army of the Dead, and there's.
See, I'm not good with this stuff.
And so when they released the new trailers that featured her.
That's what. Yeah, this is
sexy AF. Hot Tig was started trending on.
She was on Jimmy Fallon. If you just check that interview out, it will kind of give you a good interview or insight into who she is.
Yeah, she said she's super surprised. I mean, she's like 51, 52, and suddenly is just like thrust in the spotlight as like sexy. It's really cool.
50. Yeah, she's 50. Ooh.
Yeah. So.
All right then. That
really?
means I got a chance.
She's got that salt and pepper look going.
Hollywood.
I'm looking right now. Like she's got that salt and pepper thing going on. So, okay.
And a breast cancer survivor.
There you go, Mo.
She's got a good story.
There you go, Mo. You ain't even gotta worry about your wedding cost. Like she gonna have it.
Right.
Oh no. Wait. Not like that. I was saying I got a shot to make it in Hollywood. Not that I was.
Yeah.
Let me make sure I, reference that.
Yeah.
I do have a type, but I don't think she's my type.
No, okay.
You're right. We got to be specific what we're asking the universe for.
Yes.
Yes, you do.
Very
you
much
do.
so.
Can't be claiming everything. Can't be claiming all things. No.
Universe is like, here you go, and you're like, whoa,
Right.
wait a minute. Universe is all butt
But
hurt
you
now.
said.
No. No, that's not what I said.
She chose down. Has anybody
Let me
ever seen
clarify.
that old Muppets movie? Well, it was a Jim Henson movie, The Labyrinth.
Oh yeah. I know exactly.
You remind me of the
what you're talking
Babe.
What Babe?
about. You said the hand talking things you're talking about, and they're
Yes,
like
the hand talking
up or
things.
down.
Mhm.
I can't make any of those.
I guess I'll go.
I could never be in a gang. I guess I don't know.
She's being
No
held
hands
by all
on?
these hands. If you haven't seen it, she kind of falls down a hole, and the hole is made of just hands, and so it's holding her in place. And then a bunch of different hands make faces, and they talk to her, and they're like, "Well, which way do you want to go, bitch? You want to go up or do you want to go down?" And she's like, I'm already in this position. I guess I'll go down." And they're like, "She chose down," and then goes into the cellar where she
They start laughing, and then they drop her in a prison.
and then they drop her into a prison.
Now I need to watch it again because that movie was so good.
It's such a good movie. So
I love it.
If anyone has not seen Labyrinth and you think you're a movie person, you are not a movie person. If you have
Yeah,
not
not
seen
a David
Labyrinth,
Bowie
you need to
fan.
go
How
ahead
dare
and-
you?
And put that on your list.
Get ready
and
to
like,
feel things. David Bowie makes you tingle
Yes.
in that movie.
yeah,
It's
Yeah.
a children's movie, and they have him
Right.
dancing around.
Woo. Yeah,
And the tightest of tights.
and the tightest
The ballet-
of gray
ballet.
sweatpants.
Oh, he
yes.
was built for it. But can you imagine that David Bowie is such a strong influence on this world that even his wife Iman said, "I will never find another man that will even be on his level."
Because there wasn't one.
Yeah.
Man,
Kitty.
Yeah, that is.
It is
I'm sorry. I
Pepper.
just
Oh, poor Mo. She's tearing up.
I'm sorry.
Oh.
All
I
right.
love like that. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, I was trying to
You
keep it
love
light.
it.
I was trying to keep it light because current events are not always happy, friendly, or funny, and of course, big thing that happened this week was the end of the Derek Chauvin trial, where he was found guilty on all counts, and of course they're gonna appeal. But for I think like the next 8 weeks while he's waiting for sentencing, they've got him in solitary for 23 hours a day for his safety.
Absolutely.
And yeah, I mean that's a really big deal. However, for a lot of people, it feels like it's just window dressing, right? I mean, what changes have actually occurred? I mean, this is a guy that finally brought people like those people that were always apologizing for cops. We're finally like, okay, yeah, that one is bad, right?
Huh, not even.
There,
But until the trial, then they all flip back.
Nope. All of them, they're still saying that that Floyd was a criminal, and that while he shouldn't have died, he died because of a drug overdose.
Yeah,
That's what they're saying. Even though the autopsy stated he died because that knee was on his back 9 minutes.
fake
and
news.
23
Fake
seconds.
news.
Yeah, and that's what I mean. Like when it happened, even then people were doing it. But then when the trial started coming out, all of them flipped back to being cop apologists. It just
it's too much for them. Like overall, like there's so much writing on on this case, this particular case, and like the evidence was a little too damning. Even though there's plenty of people that were like, nope, it's the drug in his systems, he's a criminal, blah, blah, blah. It was still too damning, just a smidgen too damning for them to be like, we can't just let this slide. And plus, there's, with all this going on with the pandemic, this practically year-long worth of protesting, and the fact that you're going to have the National Guard go all the way out there to, I guess, police or for safety, not knowing what the verdict was. Because normally, if you think about it, if you're thinking that the National Guard is going to be there, they're going to say not guilty, and then they're waiting for something to happen. But yeah, right. It was something was bad. It was a little too damning, and they weren't willing to to let all this shit happen over this one dude right here.
But it should not. The fact that you say it's a little too damning is like, no, it was damning enough. It was damning enough when we all saw it, but there had to be this after this after this after bystander to say, oh, this was wrong. I mean, it's just it's cockamamie is the only word that I can say. Like, oh, okay, if somebody wasn't a drug user, then they can take a knee to the neck for 9 minutes. You know, like that's not how asphyxiation works for anybody, whether they're high or sober.
Exactly.
It's
the worst part is that nothing changed to the effect of while his verdict was being reached and spoken, there was another young black child by the name of Makia Harris that was gunned down, 4 bullets to the chest, center mass.
Can't even get one day.
Columbus, not even an hour. It was literally while the judge
while it was happening.
while it was happening, she got shot all over. And she's the one that called the police.
Makia Bryant, not Harris.
Makia Bryant.
Is it Bryant?
Bryant.
Yeah, Bryant.
You know, I do always get confused with that one from
California.
From LA. Yeah, from LA. But because her case, she never got justice with that. While the woman was found guilty, they suspended her sentence. So it's just gobsmacked at the level of lack of humanity that people of color receives.
I agree with that 100%. And it brings up a whole lot of problems. It does, right? So when you don't, because right now you don't have trust in the police, right? So there's no trust. You can't.
Absolutely not.
You can't, like, even if, and I'm not saying this was a legit thing. I'll get to the video on that, but even if it's legit, you have no trust. So it's just like, is it legit? Like, if it wasn't a black person, would the cop have done something different? Because you just don't know. And since you don't have that trust, you can't ever say to yourself, well, okay, maybe that was, maybe something else was going on, or maybe I don't know. It's that point.
You can't give them the benefit of the doubt.
Exactly. And that's a problem for.
I saw this meme talking about trust in the police. It was like, if police did the right thing, we wouldn't distrust them. Like, no one ever made a song about fuck the firemen. Like, no one's like, fuck the firemen. You know what I'm saying? Like,
they came over and they just let my house burn.
And obviously, it's not always all of them. You know what I'm saying? But if they did what they were supposed to do, it wouldn't be no issue. We wouldn't, you know what I'm saying?
Well, and I saw something today that was like, I think it's Chicago police spends $5 million a day just on policing, and they got grenade launchers. Like, what?
Oh,
okay,
yeah.
Why did these police officers need grenade launchers? And then I saw another man talk about if we allocated funds to the actual people that know how to deal with some of these problems, whether it be, somebody's abusive husband or somebody's having a mental breakdown or
social workers.
Exactly. Yeah, there's a child in danger, anything that the police should not have to deal with. The police need to be there to protect and serve, which means if somebody's got a gun, we need them to deal with that. But that's it. I don't need the police to come over if my aunt or uncle is having a manic episode, and they're going to come over and harm them regardless. I have epilepsy. I don't know what the hell I'm doing after I come out of a seizure. That scares the hell out of me. I got shot up with ketamine in the hospital because I was coming out of a seizure, and then I didn't know what was happening. I got shot up with a sedative because of something that I couldn't control. And I just wanted to pee. I wanted to pee, get up out of the hospital bed and pee, because they had me peeing in a fucking Gatorade bottle with a handle on it. And I don't want to do this. My mother is in the room. Just let me go to the bathroom and pee. Sorry. I've been holding that in for a long time, y'all.
Let it out.
Yeah, you were.
Literally holding it.
This is healing right now.
It's a dignity issue. I just wanted to say, going back to Sam's point about, like, if the police did what they were supposed to do during this time, we all learned so much. And what I really learned was that, like, we need to talk about the fact that the police are doing what they're supposed to do, which is surveilling Black people. The police organizations started as slave catching troops, you know, so they have been watching, taking Black bodies all throughout history, and so that has been this is the evolution of that. So they are doing what they're supposed to do, and that's why we need to rework the system from the ground up.
And to speak on that, to like, because what I want to say is this: I don't care. I do not care what any Black person did or did not do. I don't care. I don't care if she was stabbing a girl. I don't care if he was on drugs. I don't care if he was robbing or if he was asleep. I don't give a shit. Because let's be clear, there is a discrepancy in how certain people, Black people, are treated versus how white people are treated. And if you cannot see that, you are part of the problem. And I'm tired of people trying to justify these shit. Like, I don't care what anybody, it just back to Kristen's point. Like, they're doing what they were set up to do. And if you really look back and look at the history, it's not unbelievable. But because we are socialized and born into a country that has racism ingrained in the fabric of it, and this is how we're socialized. If you live in America, you're racist. I want everybody to know it. You were born and raised and socialized in America, you're racist, and it does not mean you hate Black people and you want to hang them from trees. It just means you have subconscious ideas that are untrue about a group of people based on how you were socialized and brought up. And it does not make you a horrible person. But until we can start to have those conversations, and until we can start to actually talk about the real reason police were created and why the system exists how it does now, and of course why white people are so prone to protect it, then we're never going to get anywhere. And that's my 2 cents. And I'm tired. I don't care what the person did. I don't care. I don't give a shit.
The police are not the judge and the jury. They take the person into custody. They're not the ones figuring out if you should live or die.
Mm-hmm. They sure do know how to do
holding
that for
some
mass
Skittles
shooters.
Or whatever the fuck. Exactly. How many white mass shooters have to go kill a number of people and not get brought in alive and given fucking water or Cheez-Its or whatever the fuck they want?
Right, and that's the point here is that I'm trying to make is that so in the camera this young lady is literally in that moment going at somebody with a knife. That's a deadly weapon. This police officer just arrived on the scene. It is. A knife is a deadly weapon.
Because depending on what state you're in, it's not.
A knife is a deadly weapon. As a military person, a knife is a deadly weapon.
I hear you on that. But there's been certain cases
let me continue here though. Right. So and then if someone is attacking with a deadly weapon, then you are within your rights to defend yourself or others. And as a police officer, it is within your duty to defend yourself or others. The problem here is, of course, as Samantha's saying, it doesn't matter anymore. It just doesn't matter. Like, it's like we've gone through so much shit and so much bullshit. And this is when I say I feel a little bit sorry for that particular officer, because what else can he do really? Like maybe a taser. Like people can make an argument about a taser or something, but at the end of the day, that's his training. There was someone that was physically being attacked by a knife. And even people on the scene are like, well, she died. Another girl's life was saved in that. But because this is such a problem, it doesn't matter. It just doesn't matter. We're gonna look at that and we're just gonna be like, what the fuck, you know? Yeah. Like it's another. It all goes together, and it's fucking stupid. It's crazy.
Mo, say something. And I'm gonna come in after you. Go ahead.
Okay, so let me I understand that I do get that he didn't know what was going on because he just came up on the scene. The problem was And this is alleged, and also I believe this is from the body cam footage. This is from what I'm told, that he literally got out of his car and said police, and then started shooting the girl.
No, that's not how it happened. But there wasn't. It all happened very fast, and so he didn't shoot until after she was already attacking. So on the body cam, you see that he's coming up, and you see her. First, she pushes one person down, and then she turns and starts charging another lady with the knife out, and all of that's on the body cam. So there's at least that much time, and he's already gotten out of his car and got to that point. There's
So what did he say? Police?
He said, so that I don't know. And like I'm saying, we can say like there might have been things that he could have done. It's hard to know. And at the end of the day, it doesn't really matter, right? Because these questions are going to come up, and because we don't have trust in the police, he could have done everything right. Everything. Maybe he could have an airtight case, and you know what? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter, because at the end of the day, a young black woman is dead, and we are living in an atmosphere of terror, right?
How many times has a taser not dropped somebody? Like, does that happen? Is somebody get hit with a taser and like, I'm the Hulk now? Or do people just like lock up and fall over?
No, it has. So okay, I hate to sound like I'm
just
okay.
asking.
So as anyone who is in a situation where you need to shoot somebody, right? The reason you are choosing to shoot somebody is because you need to stop them now. There can be no chance of not stopping them, and it's because someone's going to die or whatever, and they're not trained properly to make that assessment correctly all the time. And I'll say that. But so when you shoot, it's not one bullet. Whenever someone says like, "Oh, why'd they shoot 80 bullets?" 8 bullets, 80 bullets, it's the same thing, because it's all. They're not like looking at each other and going, "Fred, are you going to be the one to shoot? Joe, are you going to be the one to shoot?" No, they don't do that. They all shoot. And when you shoot, you put down 5 to 7 rounds, because you're trying to put them down. You don't know if they're on drugs. You don't know, like, all this kind of stuff. So that's part of their training. I'm not saying it's right. I'm just saying that's what's part of their training.
That's the big problem. It's the training is the issue.
The training is the issue, and again, that the training and the climate, the climate that allows them to just keep making these mistakes and not getting in trouble at all is where the biggest problem is. And so you have police officers who, like that lady that pulled out I thought it was a taser. You know what?
Yeah.
Maybe you legitimately
years on the force though.
Maybe you legitimately, even if you legitimately thought you were pulling out the taser, like even if that's legitimate, the fact of the matter is all of your training, your inability to keep a steady, calm mind in the situation, all of these things contributed to you pulling out that taser. So, or pulling out the pistol instead of a taser. So even if it was an honest mistake, that does not make it exonerate the system. The system caused that mistake at the end. Like, so it's either you or it's the system. And we see,
and they're not going to want to dismantle the system. That's the thing.
Okay, but here's the thing: with every industry that happens, I'm a truck driver. It's top 5 most dangerous job in America. I'm literally driving down the road in an 80,000-pound death machine. I have to be careful what I'm doing. I can't be distracted and playing on my phone or looking in other directions where some idiot that decides that they want to make their exit at the last possible second zoom in front of me. I can't. If I get in an accident, I'm considered the professional driver. So I'm the one that's going to be at fault 9 times out of 10. So I get that, yeah, policing is a tough job, but that was the choice that you made. And furthermore, you're right. They don't get the proper set of training because they're just trying to get numbers, because nobody wants to really do the job because they don't pay anything, number 1. Number 2, they don't get proper education. Number 3, you have an influx of all these, ever since the 90s, the FBI has stated that there has been the KKK and other
they don't vet anybody.
No, they don't. They don't.
Infiltrating the police industry.
Force, yeah.
So,
Kyle Rittenhouse was a year away from being a police officer.
Absolutely.
He was in the training already.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. So we have a mentality again going back that they don't consent, or they're as a whole, because if whether it's one bad apple, 10 bad apples out of how many ever thousand police, it still spoils the whole bunch. Where you have this mentality that you don't believe black people are actually human beings. You're still thinking on that mindset that they're 3/5 of a person. They're good enough to hold space, but they're not smart enough to make decisions.
Right.
Plus, that child was 15 years old. She was being jumped by those two girls. That's why she was fighting.
In a stand your ground state.
In a stand
Right.
your ground state.
Yeah,
So
there's a lot of things in that situation. Yeah, so
Right. So yeah, it may not be cookie cutter where somebody has a knee on the back of somebody's neck for 9.5 minutes. However, there are some distinctions where in the back of my mind, I still wonder that. I wonder if that was a little white girl with the knife, which would he have pulled that
exactly.
And
Yes.
and the topic. So I agree with you on that end, but at the same time, the police need to be better trained on de-escalation, because everybody's saying, "Oh, well, she could have killed him with a knife." I was like, "Wait a minute, aren't you the same people that said that this is the reason why we get rid of guns, because knives and stuff like that is less effective as far as killing people."
Yeah,
What was the thing about bringing knives to a gunfight? What was that?
Exactly.
I really like your analogy as a truck driver, because it really does show like the difference, right? So policing, there's an atmosphere of just like allowing them to get away with it, but as a truck driver, if you hit somebody, that's gonna be on. They're gonna 100%. They're gonna look at you. But if the truck driver industry was different, like let's say that it, for whatever reason, you were just able to be like, well, look, I'm in a big ass truck. I can't stop on a dime, so it's always gonna be on your fault that you brake in front of me and we run over you. And that was the climate in the trucking industry, right? Mm-hmm. And that was accepted because the trucking industry fucking union, was like, imagine what that would be like, right?
There's a lack of unions in the trucking industry.
Right.
So that's number one, because Quaz is kept. Some of the largest retailers in this country have basically stated that if you have a trucking company that has unions, they will not do business with you.
Right.
So they have literally, and even though there's a lot of independent operators, 98% of the industry is owned by 4 companies.
Mm. Right. And your climate is if you mess up, you messed up.
It's on you.
It's on you. That's your climate.
And that is not the climate of the police. It's a brotherhood. It's a fraternity.
Mm-hmm. So I'm pulling on my pre-K teacher hat here. So because we're supposed to view policemen, the police force, as our community helpers. And there's supposed to be this sense of like blind trust in this form of authority, that we're not supposed to. Whatever they're doing is justified. So, that's the thing. Like, we're supposed to believe that whatever they do, whatever actions they take, is supposed to be justified because they're the police and they're supposed to be there to protect and serve. But those things do not correlate because obviously we have them in over-policing areas where they're not there to protect and serve. They're to police and control and to micromanage communities that they feel like are troublesome. And so that's what we're dealing with right now. What you're saying, Daniel, like most of us now, we don't have that blind sense of like, respect this authority, like we're supposed to trust this authority, they're the good guys. No, because we know better now.
Yeah, you can't trust them.
No, we know better now.
Yeah. And that's my main point, is like, it doesn't matter if everything. So this is a situation where there is some, in my mind, as just, as someone who's been in the military and who grew up conservative, in my mind, this is one where there's, okay, I can make some concessions for the officer on the scene. I can make some concessions for him. That doesn't make it okay. It doesn't exonerate the system at all, because the system is what put that officer in that position. And it really highlights the fact of how fucked up it all is, because it's like Mo said, like, if that little girl was white, or was that Mo that said that? If that little girl was white, would the same thing have happened? And I can't answer that. And that's a problem. that's a fucking problem. Like I can't say, well, it would have been the same if it was a white girl.
I can. It would not have happened. I can answer it.
And we're also going to have to deal with the issue of, because it's a black girl, we're going to have the same issue that we've had with Breonna Taylor.
Oh, they're going to talk about how bad she was.
Right. Like, we're going to have to deal with, surprisingly enough, like, the fact that she, like, the news of her death was so, like...
I mean, it's already there. They're already doing it.
Right, but I'm saying, like, Breonna Taylor, like, at least, well, before we found out Breonna Taylor, she had been killed a good bit before we found out, like, nationwide, whereas this one was, like, that's not new, but, like, that's new for us. But like it's already hard for us to pull together to help to find justice for black girls and black women in this situation.
Sandra Bland.
Mm-hmm.
It is,
and then furthermore, that particular situation, they immediately released the body cam footage.
Mm-hmm.
Which I think that was a diversionary tactic. Because you got witnesses that are there that are saying that he didn't try to de-escalate the situation,
right?
Which that should be a part of their protocol. If it's not, it damn sure should be,
right?
Because they were tussling and it was 2 against 1. She's the one that called the police, and to top it off, hey Destiny, how you doing, honey? And on top of that, people are saying, well, she was able to call the police. Well, why was she still standing out there? Well, this is all alleged, but allegedly she was at a group home or something to that effect. And unfortunately, the person that was running it told those young girls to go after her. So it's a lot of toxicity.
There's a lot of
that is going on, and within the black community, and as well as with dealing with the outer with the police.
Misogynoir.
And guess what? It doesn't even fucking matter. There's a girl there that's gonna be.
Yes.
Sam
absolutely.
says she doesn't matter. And I gotta concede, okay. Sam, you're right. When I said I didn't know, I can't know. You're right. 99%. No, it wouldn't have been the same thing. You are absolutely right. And that's part of the problem. That's a symptom of the problem. And it is. You talked about how they released the cam. A diversionary tactic, not a diversionary tactic, doesn't matter. It has taken so many deaths for the police to finally be at this point where they're like releasing body cam. Like they've been hiding it. They hide it. They hide it. They hide it because they know it damns them.
Yes.
I said this last week. Yeah. I used to teach at a high school in Atlanta. One of our students was shot in the back by a police officer in Atlanta. He was murdered. Let's be clear. And it took months of fighting with the police department, teachers testifying, begging to just release the body cam footage.
Which belongs to us. It belongs to us. That's the thing.
Months. They finally got it released, but it was months.
But that's what the problem is. The police working for the police.
And not for us.
And not for the people. And I think a big, huge issue with the police working with the police is that they don't police the neighborhoods where they live in. So on top of their implicit bias or, what they may think about the people that they're policing, there's no chance to get on the other side of it, because understanding is what leads to tolerance, is what leads to acceptance, right? Is what leads to harmony. So if you're not living even with people, if you're not seeing them in the store, there's no chance of like recognizing their faces over and over and over again, then it's just, it might as well just be a boogaloo boogeyman number 5. And so the same thing happens over and over again.
And before anybody talks about like the fact that we have black, Asian, Hispanic police officers, particularly black ones, that doesn't mean they don't succumb to anti-blackness. Okay, so let's right in colorism. So let's go ahead and throw that out there before you start doing your typing, do your Twitter thumbs. So just let's talk about that.
Yeah.
Yeah. But shout out to the police. I have some of my good friends are police officers, as well as I have family members that are in the various police departments around this country, as well as the military. Also, Danny, thank you for your service. I know I've said it before, but I just felt like saying it again.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'd like to say it's my pleasure, but sometimes I just look at what's going on and be like, what the fuck did I spend all those years doing? Yeah. So, in some better news, what was her name? She was the police officer in the early aughts, the mid aughts, that actually did stand up. And stopped an incident.
Yes.
I want to say it's Cariol.
I gotta Google it.
I knew her
So
name.
like she reported like she wanted to stop a chokehold, an inappropriate chokehold with I guess like her partner at the time, and like she reported it, and then they reported her, and then she like lost her job and her pension.
She was like a year away from her pension. And she finally they finally flipped everything. Stops. Let me.
So she was able to get a settlement with her lawsuit against the police
So
department.
they passed.
Eventually, it's been a while.
Carol Horn.
Carol Horn. Yeah, Carol Horn. So they passed Carol's law.
I've been Googling.
First of all. Yeah.
Yes.
They passed
we
Carol's
heard.
law.
Carol Horn.
Carol Horn.
Hey, just so you know.
Yes. and so we say we're like, where's the good police officer? There was one. We got one. But the good thing, the
black
main
woman.
thing this does, a black woman. The main thing this does though,
Fucked up because she did the right thing, but now she's
exactly. But so one of the problems we always say, like, well, where are the good apples, right? So it's systemic. The problem is systemic in the police in policing. And so what happens is you stand up and do what's right, and you get fired and lose your pension after 19 and a half years of fucking service, right? So I don't know. That's a big fucking deal, like if I'm like, oh, that's not right, but am I going to say something? Because, and so Carol's law, it's just in Buffalo right now, makes it illegal to not speak up. So now if it comes out and you didn't speak up, you're on the hook now. So how much is that going to help in Buffalo? I don't know. I mean, it's got to come up first, right? But of course we're trying to push, they're hoping to push that law further out and further out. Protecting whistleblowers so that if you do speak up, at least you can't lose your job. Like maybe you'll be ostracized still from your buddies or whatever, but you at least won't lose your job and your pension. And if it turns out that you didn't speak up when something happened and it comes to light, then you're on the hook for it. So that's baby fucking steps, right?
Yeah, because that only fixed a portion. But like you just said, like, yes, you're gonna get some shit from your colleagues and fellow officers, and like, I mean, I'm sure we've seen plenty of shows where that's happened, where like they get shit just for speaking out against their fellow brother, sister in blue, and like it makes it hard for them to do their job to the point where they don't want to do it anymore. And that shit travels too. Like you can't go to another precinct, and this shit's gonna follow you. Like you can't even do your job after that. Like that's the problem. Like it's.
But people who do wrong can go to other precincts.
Right.
Right.
That
They
too.
have no
Absolutely.
problem with it.
They like that. Like, oh, you
Right.
like to bust heads. You like to crack heads.
Right.
Yeah.
But
All of
that goes back to this whole idea of like, well, they're police officers, are there, whatever they're doing is justified. Okay, so of course your colleagues are going to think like whatever you done is justified and it's okay, and they're going to cover you and they're going to make sure that you're not going to get the boot. But if one of you decides to speak up against it, like, hey, y'all, this isn't right. They shouldn't have done that. Oh shit. Well, no, we're going to make your life a living hell here.
Yeah. And what really gets me, so my dad said this once, and I just was like flabbergasted. I showed a thing, an article someone wrote, and they wrote that they went on a police ride along with an old friend from school, and how horrified he was about how casually he talked about the things, and how they like, okay, we're just gonna roll up on this guy because I know he probably has been doing some, and just like the shit that he was doing, And so he wrote a story about it, and my dad was basically like, yeah, I don't think that's real. I'm like, that's like a first-hand account, and you're just saying you don't believe it. And he's like, yeah, that doesn't happen. And Ricky Z, you just said, like, you see films and movies and stuff where it's in there, and I'm like, they don't make that shit up. Like, they didn't just, like, imagine that police are bad and make up a movie that it wouldn't be believable.
Right.
Movies work because they're believable. We believe that could happen, and that it does.
Here's the thing, Danny.
We saw that footage.
It's believable.
I'm sorry, I was just going to say really quick, we saw that footage and people were still saying, but, you know, we saw someone get killed unnecessarily. We saw people yell. We saw 4 officers around who could have, like, taken it to the next step. That was my thing. There seemed to be no next step for Derek Chauvin, you know, and we saw all of that. And still people said, but this, but that, but he was, but.
And even with, unfortunately, which leads into my next one, I was going to say confirmation bias. Regardless of what truth they see with that video, regardless of what they see with the coroner's report, where it stated that he died because of asphyxiation, even though there were drugs in the system, it wasn't enough to kill him. The hypertension wasn't enough to kill him. And at that point,
yeah, it blows my
there's
mind.
still people that still holds to that Chauvin was innocent.
Because they don't want to see it any other way.
Absolutely.
And that's what I'm just like,
innocent but justified.
At this point, you see it or you don't. Like,
that was
anyone who doesn't, how?
That was the prosecution's like final argument. They were like, no matter what they say, believe what your eyes saw. Believe what you saw. Trust your eyes.
But the thing is, like, it's despite what, if it was even, like, against protocol or that, the thing is that they thought that he was justified in what he was doing. Regardless if he was in the wrong or the right, they felt that he was justified. Therefore, it is okay. Therefore, that person deserved to die. Yep. And that that's the whole crux of this.
Yeah, because he should have complied. That's what they say. He should have complied.
Therefore, he's justified.
Yeah.
But like, what more is compliance? Was it just being silent? You know, like, I don't know what else is compliance.
Not being there.
Unfortunately, just the simple fact that they don't feel that George was a human being. Because quiet as is kept, you know, the opiate crisis has hit mainly Caucasian households. It was really not talked about with African Americans that are going through that, because it's happening, but it's not happening at a greater rate due to the fact of racism. Doctors don't believe black people when we say we are in pain, so they do not give them those painkillers. They think, oh, you're trying to farm for drugs. Go on, here's some ibuprofen, you'll be all right.
Right, coming from the demographic that has the highest birth mortality rate.
Yeah. Right. And also, you know, the average black man, the life expectancy is 57 years old. Right. But, you know, hey, we're not feeling any pain. No, not at all. So you have all this going on, and unfortunately, I don't see where these people's hearts and minds are ever going to be changed. And they're teaching their kids the same stupid ideology. I don't know what's it going to take for them to actually wake up from it, because quiet as is kept, black and brown people in this country are literally the canaries in the mine. So if we go down, please believe the rest of America goes down too.
And that's
exactly
not
that's
not
what
hyperbole.
it is. And what I, in my work with with a social justice nonprofit that I was doing, the one nugget that I've taken from it is that in order for change to happen, you have to convince people that it's in their best interest as well for them to change. So you're right. If we go down, everybody goes down, and that's what we have to say. And now things are coming out like racism is bad for public health, racism is bad for the economy, but it's knucking futs, but we have to convince other people that this is something that's
cute.
I've heard that before. Every time it gets me giggle.
I love it.
Yeah.
I love it.
Well, before we move on to our main topic, just a quick add-on to that, and I don't mean to throw this grenade in. Yeah, I do. I'm throwing this grenade in, but we're not going to really talk about it too much. You mentioned Kyle Rittenhouse. We're talking about this problem is systemic. So they just uncovered that there's like a conservative pseudo-religious crowdfunding site, and that police officers across the nation were funding Kyle Rittenhouse's
and like Congress
defense.
people.
And the one that got me the most is because you think about, like, we talk about police policing themselves. One of them was a sergeant that was in internal affairs out of Virginia, an internal affairs guy. So, like, it's widespread. Like, you can't tell me that it's just a couple of bad apples. It's like 50% bad apples.
Remember, your local KKK member is your mailman, your milkman, your police officer.
They're the people. I mean, they're
your
somebody.
Mayor, like they're locals.
Yeah,
they're
not.
Locals
They don't. Yeah,
and they come in all occupations and statuses.
Exactly.
It does not matter.
They don't just hide out after the meeting in a warehouse all together with their hoods. You know, they're just there, and then they go out and do KKK stuff and go back. There are people in your neighborhood.
Right, but real quick, the most frustrating part, the FBI has been ringing the alarm about this since the 1990s. So that means you've had Bill Clinton, George Bush Jr., or Barack Hussein Obama, 45,
that guy.
And now Joe
He
Biden.
who shall not be named.
Yeah, right. Voldemort. You've had all these people that have had, now, quiet as kept, I will say that, Donald Trump, he did, make some headway. So I will give him that much credit. Very little. Anyway, like his hands. Anyway, the point of it is, we've been knowing about this going on 30 years, that there has been a surge and an uptick about this. But nobody has said anything as far as what to do as far as the solution.
Right.
The time is up. They have got to go. Fire every cop if you have to, and then rehire them again based on their history, because it's not that hard to figure out who's down and who's not down with that type of stuff.
Right, for sure. All right, well, we are going to move on to our main topic for the evening. But before we do, we're going to take a quick break and feature a few of our friends.
We are here today on site at one of our projects. I'm a developer and entrepreneur in real estate. And what excites me most is seeing the properties come from the ground up. In development, you have to grade the ground first, you have to pour the footers, and make sure that you're building on the solid foundation. That is very important because you want to make sure that your structure can be supported by the foundation that you're laying. That's the same thing that happens in life. You want to make sure that you're starting with a solid foundation in education. That's why we host our educational services, to make sure that you are going in the right direction to learn, to build, and so that you can grow too your real estate portfolio. All of these things and more, we provide resources at itchjessicamyers.com.
Live theater is back at the Springer Opera House. The Springer Outdoor Theater Festival presents Theater Under the Stars in a new outdoor venue located on site at the Springer Opera House. From hit Broadway musicals to classic children's tales, the festival includes 7 hit shows on stage now through June. For more information, please visit springeroperahouse.org.
All right.
I had to go down to Columbus. Yes, ma'am.
Yes, you do.
Right? Yeah.
I might come down this weekend. Why not? Yellow.
Why not? Hey.
Durier's in one of those shows. That's why.
Yes.
That's why he's not here. All right. So, okay. So we're gonna get into our main topic of discussion here: voter suppression. So this has been going on for a long time, and there's all kinds of voter suppression, from gerrymandering, which I can't understand how anyone ever looks at a map and can't figure out that something's fucking wrong with that. But people do. And
both sides of the aisle will
know,
benefit from it, so it stays.
right. And
Exactly.
and why certain common sense measures equal voter suppression. And so that's a lot of what is gone into Georgia's new bill, is these common sense measures. So I mean, let's get into it. Let's get into water at lines. Let's get into lowering the number of ballot drop-off points. Let's get into requiring ID along with your mail-in ballot. What are these issues? Why are they suppression? And what should we do instead?
And the timing of said implementation of these things,
especially in Georgia for now. I mean, it's been going on for the I'm gonna say it. Republicans have been rigging the game for 30 years at this point, or more. So
40.
I'm just saying, like,
there it is.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, our current governor technically got to run his own election, like, not just like him, like. Running his own not running his own campaign, not running his own campaign, right? Not his campaign, the entire election.
But you know what? I'm not even too mad about it, because had Stacey Abrams maybe not won, I don't think she would have, or maybe not. Maybe I'm wrong, but I don't know if she would have had the time to put the effort that she did into doing all the stuff that she did for the election. So. Right. But also, when I say timing, I'm not just talking about now. I'm talking about when all of this even started. They didn't start certain legal things about the election until the 14th and 15th Amendment was passed, when Black people could vote. So it was like, even now, yes, in this time it's relevant, because obviously it's a reaction to Georgia turning blue. But even back when it began, it was a reaction to Black people having the power to vote.
Case in point, do you guys realize the reason why we had a runoff election back last year?
Talk about it.
John Ossoff, particularly John Ossoff and David Perdue's race. Mm-hmm. In actuality, David Perdue won that race, but unfortunately he could not get to the 50% threshold.
Right.
So under Georgia law, if you do not get to 50% of the votes, you do not win that election. You have to get a runoff between the top two candidates.
Who made that law?
The law was made back in the early 60s due to a candidate that had lost his race in 1958, and he literally had stated in public, because back in those days you could be a racist openly with no issue, that the reason why he lost his race, it was because of the Black vote, and if Black people did not vote, he would have won his election. So he put a law in the books in the state legislature, basically stating you have to get 50% of the vote. And if you do not, then you have to go with a runoff, with the caveat that, they were able to divide the vote, but if it's between two people, I can still win as a white person. So that has finally backfired, because Black people are 30% of the people that in Georgia are African American, approximately. So, and due to the Atlanta metro area.
Right.
So, and on top of the things that they changed with the law, with this current round of bills, because this has been happening ever since the Voter Voting Rights Act was gutted by the Supreme Court and allowed to be to expire. So this isn't new. The difference is that we just had an election, and it was already national coverage on Georgia, so they thought they were going to be able to do their regular shenanigans, and Black people would have been mad, which we're always mad about it, but then it would have been like, all right, well, we'll just it'll just
they're always mad about
over.
Something.
They're always mad about something.
Yeah, it'll just roll over, and then they'll and we'll still continue to maintain power. That's no longer happening anymore, because people are paying attention. It's hitting the net, and it's good TV for the networks, so they're going to keep talking about it. Mm-hmm. So it's causing them problems. It's causing them strife.
Right.
But but going back to the original point of but with the current voter suppression rules, on top of what you said, Danny, they've also changed the business hours for the voting sites. They're 9 to 5 now. They were 7 to 7, and they shortened the days for early voting. So, and on top of that, they put, with all this is going on, with the voter purging that they do if you don't vote in one election, which Stacey Abrams had to go, sue the state of Georgia for that as well with Fair Fight. It's going to come to a head, and this Republican Party, I don't think they're going to be ready for when the awakening really happens, because they're not able to maintain their numbers. So eventually, regardless of how much voter suppression you put into play, you're not going to have enough people in order to keep you in power. So you're scrambling to try to grasp the little bit that you have left. But what happens when you lose that little bit that you have left?
It's. I
What
mean,
is
we're
gonna happen
seeing
to
it.
you?
We're seeing it though. We're seeing
To
it. We're
that
seeing in
point,
Pennsylvania.
That's what I
Yeah.
was gonna say.
Go ahead.
To that point, Mo, like that's why I love that Georgia turned blue. Not because I love blue, but I do. But the reason I really love it is because it showed people that their vote matters. And I think for so long they had everybody, especially black people, buy into the idea that my vote doesn't matter, so why should I vote anyway? And so, you were saying, oh, it's just going to be another election. They're not going to win. It's going to be the same narrative. Oh, my vote don't matter. My vote don't count. And it's like, and I've always, if it didn't count, why are the people? Did y'all hear me?
Yeah,
part of it. If your vote didn't matter, if your vote didn't matter, if it didn't count, why are the white men in power working so hard for it not to take it away? It really didn't matter. Now, obviously, if there is voter suppression in place, yeah, it doesn't matter because that's the whole point of voter suppression. But if it really truly did not matter, why would they work so hard to suppress it? And my thing is, oh, sorry, one more thing, and then I'll stop talking.
Go ahead.
My thing about what's happening in Georgia, I don't really know too much about like the other states. I know there's like a wave kind of happening, but at least in Georgia, I get it. Okay, voter integrity, call it what you want, through the mail or whatever. But there are some things that just don't make sense. Like, why can't I provide food or water to someone standing in line? Why does it matter if somebody votes on Sunday or at 7 a.m. or 7 p.m.? Like, that has nothing to do with voter integrity. That is just being accommodating to people that have jobs and have shit to do.
That's a Democrat sandwich, though. So you can't be giving people Democrat sandwiches.
Yet, the better question is, why is it that people are standing in line so long that they get hungry and need water in order to...
Thank you from the very beginning. From the beginning,
why
anyway.
Why are they standing there? Why are these precincts getting closed, but no there's nowhere for it to be reopened? Particularly in the rural South, where you had areas where there were African American populations. Now, this is what Kemp did. This precinct for years has been sitting there. All of a sudden, it doesn't have handicap access. We have to close that precinct.
What do you do to fix it?
Build a ramp.
Nothing. To build a ramp. That would be the best, but no, they closed it. And they know that most people, there's a lot of poor people that don't have access to public transportation, particularly in these rural areas. So they're not able to drive 20, 30, 40, 50, 60 miles in order to vote.
But if it was that important.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
Right. So there's a lot of sacrifice on the people when the sacrifice should be on the state, because the foundation of this country, of us being a republic, is to have representative voting. That's the crux of it. If you don't vote, then we're just another dictatorship.
But that was for the people who were designated to vote then, which does not look like the body of our republic now, and that's what they're trying to get back to. It's like, let's just try to strip as many other people from voting as we can. And
how many? Go ahead.
No, I was just, it's all just there's just such a thin veil mask of like, what is this, how it's getting through, like the handicap spaces, or, voter integrity, like the post office, the black women that work in these post offices are on their shit. Okay. You're going to be fine if you send your shit through the mail.
They do not play about that shit, man. I hate going to the post office. You ain't got the right
nothing.
You ain't got the right envelope. You right, Krista. You right. Like they be like,
you're not gonna mess up their job. No.
And I think the worst part that kills me about this, that they stated that the last election was such a fair and effective and non-fraudulent election. Then they turned back around not even 3 months later. It was literally like right when the Georgia legislative session started in January. So we barely got Biden in office. You barely got Ossoff and Warnock in office. And you're already putting the bill on the book saying, oh, well, we didn't feel this election was safe. So we got to give, the level of safety to the community so they'll feel that it's okay to vote. But didn't you just say that it was a clean election?
The hypocrisy.
So which one is it? Which one is it?
Right.
The hypocrisy of the Republican Party is so wild to me because of how blatant it is, right? Like some people, that you're being a hypocrite because didn't 15 years ago you said this? Well, people grow and change. But the Republican Party, like it's literally a month later they flip on something. It's in this election cycle they flip on something. It's so like mind-blowing to me, and they just get away with it.
What I don't understand is like my thing is like, are you concerned about the provisions that were made through the pandemic, or are you talking about the provisions that were there prior to the pandemic, which is what elected your Republican governor currently? So you talking about his policies and the policies that have been in place prior to him being elected? Like, are you bad at your own policies?
Well, now, to be fair, it was a Republican that put that law on the books back in 2003 for no excuse absentee ballots. Now, there was a Democrat that was governor at the time. It was not Sonny Perdue.
No.
What the point of it is?
Not Barnes, was it? It wasn't Barnes.
Yes,
was
it was Roy Barnes. Yes, it exactly was. It was Roy Barnes. But he signed it into law because you should have easy access, even though they knew statistically Republicans at that time voted absentee more than Democrats. And here's what I push back. Also, I blame the Democrats as well, is because it took. They also gerrymander because they also allow gerrymandering to happen because they feel that black people aren't able to get elected into office unless they're gerrymandered into one district. And that had been the issue until recently, that they felt that due to the I forget, and political science was years ago, but the point of it is, if they spent the time that the Republican Party spends on every single state legislature votes, scooting board, whatever, they put money behind that to make sure these people are into place. So they're able to amass this level of power where it doesn't matter really who the president is, because everything else is being run by the Republican Party. All the way down to school books.
Right.
The state of Texas basically runs whatever's in your child's school book, regardless of what state you're in, because they're the largest purchaser of said textbooks. So if Texas doesn't want it,
producer of said textbooks
as well. So if Texas doesn't want it in their textbooks, guess what? You're not getting it in Connecticut. You're not getting it in Georgia. That's why they pushed in the health books the initiative for abstinence only sex education, because of that. And guess what? Teen pregnancy went up. I wonder why.
Don't do it. Okay. If you're going to do it, do all these things. Yeah, it's
backwards. It's backwards.
100%.
Backwards.
Did anybody else get an ATM card? We got those in middle school. It was like looked like a little debit card. It said ATM on it, and it was abstinence till marriage.
Yes, it was gold. I remember that. I got that in middle school. It was like 7th or 8th grade.
Or here's this remember the promise ring, or was saying that I promise that I will not have sex till marriage. Yeah, they found out that those children that did that were 6 times more likely to engage in riskier sex, such as anal sex.
Oh, that's right.
Because you can't get pregnant in the butt.
Right.
You can't break your hymen.
Right. But you can get STDs in your butt. So yikes.
But they're not going to talk about that part. They're not going to talk about the STDs, period.
Hell, they don't even want to talk about masturbation.
Right.
Yeah.
Look, so that's
the safest sex.
I've been living in Georgia for like majority of my life, but I hail from the state of Indiana, the Hoosier state, where our former vice president was. Where when he was governor, there was an STD outbreak.
Yeah.
Republican governor, STD outbreak.
Imagine that. Imagine that.
Oh my God!
Right.
But it's not really about policy and whether it works for them. It's about what they look like and how they look like to their constituents, the religious right, because that's who votes for them. It's a Noam Chomsky was talking, and I don't put him on a pedestal or anything. He's got some things that he says that I don't necessarily agree with, but he was talking about how back in like the 60s or so, like maybe the 50s, 60s, abortion, all these they didn't care. They didn't care. It wasn't part of their platform. But because corporations and all these people that are funneling their money, just because they're getting all these campaign donations doesn't mean they're getting all these votes, because it doesn't matter how much money I give to somebody, I am one vote. And so they were like, how do we win the vote from all these people? And so they started making it a morality play for everything. And that's
in comes the evangelical.
Yeah, and you just see, like, at the end of the day, like, look, as a straight person, gay marriage does not affect me at all. It doesn't hurt me, it doesn't harm me, it doesn't help me, it doesn't do anything. There's nothing about it except more people get married, helps the marriage, wedding, whatever, get their $30,000 per wedding.
Yes.
Every, like, it helps the economy, actually. So there's that. The abortions, if I don't want to do abortions, people being able to get abortions has nothing to do with me. Nothing at all. Nothing to do with me, my wife, who, if she didn't want to, but people who can, like, it allows them to. So all these things that just don't have anything to do with you. Meanwhile, your actual economic repercussions, the things that do affect you, we can ignore those because we've got you so riled up about gay marriage. We've got you so riled up about this other thing that you are willing to forego all this stuff that will really help our economy and really bring people out of poverty, will help with all the drug crises, will help with everything across the board. Fuck Republicans.
I think both of those issues have really, really deep-seated natures in white supremacy, because both of them are taking away from the white family unit and the white family like procreation, because the majority of people who get abortions in this company, we might as well be, are white women. And the same thing with same-sex marriage. Yes, there are ways to have children naturally in the same-sex couple, but there's going to be less of the chance of like people having these big, huge Mormon families.
Yeah,
and let's not forget
Mormon white
was
families.
And let's not forget homosexuality was added to the Bible in 1946 with the Revised Standard Version. Imagine that a 19th century word somehow got added to the Bible in 1946. But for some reason, they swear up and down that, God hates the gays. But hey, I digress on that. But my issue is the ineffectiveness of the other party, the Democratic Party, because a lot of this could have been avoided. But they were just so concerned themselves also with lobbying. I mean, right now there was a report that was released because we spent so much time during the election last year talking about Kelly Loeffler, talking about David Perdue, how they were doing insider trading, although nobody was talking about Dianne Feinstein was doing the same exact thing. And also it's come out that Nancy Pelosi was doing the same damn thing with $20 million worth.
Yeah.
If anything, their law should be put on the books that they should have a blind trust. I know that's getting off the subject, but clearly absolute power has been corrupting them absolutely. And it's time for a change. And that's why they're doing the voter suppression maneuvers, because the people are sick and tired and they know it. And they're trying to hold on to the last little bit of power that they have, like Charlton Heston did with the NRA from my cold dead hands. And you know what? time is up. People are done. We are sick of it. I love that they had people protesting in front of the governor's office. And they were chanting, "You about to lose your job.
Check this
You
dance.
about to lose your job." Yeah, right.
It's unprecedented.
So
yeah.
Let's keep this energy.
Let's keep it. I mean, and you're seeing the blowback from it in ways that are unprecedented. Yeah. We had a kidnap murder plot in Michigan for the governor, right?
He won't be charged. They're not going to be charged.
Like, but even just think about, like, that's what they felt they had to do, right? Like, we had a mob, an angry mob, break into the Capitol building. Like, this shit is unprecedented. It shows that you're on your back foot. It 100% shows exactly where you're at. You are desperate at this point.
Because they felt it was justified.
Right. And so, it looks, it's like, okay, those are some good signs, that we're going, we're coming to this head in this right direction, but there's going to be some scary stuff between now and then, and we're going to see a lot more of this voter suppression. Anything they can to put obstacles in the way of changing to this new paradigm.
I think we need to go ahead and just, like, to understand, like, there's this idea of, like, between the two parties of who has the moral high ground. I think we can all acknowledge that they're both shit, and they both employ fairly the same tactics to get what they want, because it's all mired in white supremacy. It does not matter which side of the fence you are. It's still controlled by both of those things. It's just one has a really hard time realizing that they're part of it too. And
it's the foundation of
and the other
this
side doesn't
country.
give a damn. It's okay with it.
Right. Yeah. At least one side's trying to kind of halfway cover it, but it's like you were saying, it's the Democrats, they're do nothing. It's not establishment Democrats. It's rollover Democrats. Right. And then the rest of the Democrats who are there because you can't get in, like AOC is Democrat in name. Like, she's that because we're the
Justice Democrats.
Yeah, we're part of it. It's a two-party, so she's got to be a Democrat. There's got to be a Republican. But there's, you like Nancy Pelosi. All these, they're rollover Democrats. You know what? It doesn't really hurt me if the Republicans keep doing what they're doing. So it's not really in my interest to fight it hard. And so it just.
Because if you have any real radical change, that's gonna fuck them up too.
Yeah,
I shouldn't be cursing. It's getting late. I shouldn't be cursing like that. Go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, but you're right though, because they have the same corporate donors.
They do.
And then the worst part about it is they see it as a campaign marketing tactic. Oh, you saw what they did. You need to send me more money so I can be voted into office. And when they get there, they do absolutely nothing.
Do you guys think that term limits would make different kind of changes in legislation?
Hell no.
I think
hell no.
Honestly, I think
because you know why? Do you know the average Senate term for a senator? 1.7 terms. So they're not even completing their second term. For the average for the average House of Representatives is 8.4 years. So that's basically 4 terms because they have to get reelected every 2 years. So they're not staying in long. It's just that the outliers that are staying in long are the ones that are in leadership. And more than likely, they don't have a strong enough opponent to put them out because the heads are basically running this game. The Nancy Pelosi's, the
Mitch McConnells,
yeah. But the average senator or a House of Representatives, they're not even in there that long because after they get booted out, they go run and work for those same lobbying corporations.
Go back and forth. Mm-hmm.
So even if you put those term limits, that's all they're going to do anyway. So no, that's not going to work. What needs to happen, they need to put a law in the books where if you are in a legislative position in Congress, You need to be put under a blind trust. You don't have access to your finances where you can go buy up stock because you know too much information. That is insider trading. If these people were private citizens, they should be locked up. They would have been locked into jail, Bernie Madoff style.
What's good, Kelly Loeffler?
Period. But because they're part of the club, they just get, you shouldn't do that. They don't even get a slap on the wrist. It's ridiculous.
We're gonna go with Samantha and then Jim.
I mean, to piggyback off of that and take it further, like at the end of the day, it's not about term limits. The way America was founded was on racism. It was on white supremacy. It was on, like, that is the foundation of America. It is prevalent through all of our systems. And we were talking about the police system earlier, but it carries to government. It's not just one thing. It's, let's put a law in the books. No, it is literally the whole system. If we're being honest, like, look at the Supreme Court. I think Biden called for like a investigation into that to see if like we can do it better. But like, let's be real, like the policing system, the education system, all of those, the justice system, the government system, it is all riddled with this white male privilege. And it's not going to be just one thing. It's not just going to, let's change it. No, it is embedded in the fabric of America. And until we be real about that, until we say, let's really take a step back from this. And yeah, it's not about who's right and who's wrong. What do we need to do as people for this country to get back on track? Like, forget your choice, my choice, pro-choice, whatever. Like, yeah, that's important. I'm not saying it's not, but how can we honestly come together? It's egos. Right now, there's so much ego involved in the Democrats and the Republicans. There's so much ego. And it's like, we have got to, we got to change. We got to humble ourselves. I don't know how to do it. I don't know how to do it as a country. But it is not just one thing that we're going to change legally and let's just put this law on the books. That sounds great. It sounds awesome.
It's kind of hard to humble yourself when you can call yourself the greatest country in the world. So I don't know.
We're looking real boo-boo the fool to everybody else. The mask has been unveiled, whether we want to admit it or not. People are looking at America in a totally different light.
Yeah.
It has been happening for like over 30 years.
Yeah, it's been happening, but it is like fully exposed.
Well, yeah, but they don't care because they don't care. At the end of the day, they don't care. But what you can do, vote, regardless of what suppression maneuvers they do. Vote
anyway.
Jim, what were you? I thought you had your hand up, Jim.
Yeah, it's just the common sense thing. If you look at a situation and you see it for what it is, and you don't take your ego into effect, or you don't automatically distinguish between, okay, well, this is definitely a Republican issue, this is a Democratic issue. It really is just a morality issue. It's a societal issue. It's got nothing to do with the fact that they're a Democrat or Republican. I really like the way Canada does it. They have a parliament, and it exactly represents the fabric of their country. If they have a percentage of white folks, they get this many. If they have a percentage of black folks, they get this many, so that all of their citizens are given a say-so, pretty much. And that's just not how it works in America.
No. Mo?
Here's the thing. I'm gonna push back on there. There's an old saying that we have in the black community, and we say all skin folk ain't kinfolk at all. So while it's cool to have identity politics, you have there's this is the most diverse government that we've had ever. if they don't have the intention of helping the people, it don't matter to me.
Right.
Like
It
I
just
said,
don't.
like I said earlier, there are plenty of black cops that
Right.
succumb to anti-blackness.
It's, I think, also a democratic thing. I don't think it's like, okay, well, we're gonna pick Mike because Mike is also black. It's got something to do with these are what?
If it's Parliament, then you have a House of the Lords and you have a House of the Commons.
Now I'm out of bounds. I don't. You know more
Yeah,
than
some
I
of
do.
them. Yeah, some of them. The House of the Lords is the higher house, and they're appointed.
That's not Game of Thrones.
No, that's the Parliament.
I don't watch that either.
Jail.
No, that's the Parliament. So
I guess
so that's what I'm saying. It goes into a deeper issue of, okay, well, that's cool that you look like me, but what is your political
I don't think
stance?
it has something to do with looking. I made the wrong distinction. It's probably got something to do with if you call yourself a Republican, these are the people that we're going to vote up. It's just got more to do with a specific group of people. It's not just a Republican or a Democrat. They've got all kinds of different, I don't even know, political parties, I guess you're going to call them.
Yeah, because we get really tricky doing it by race. I mean, there's so many interracial people.
Nationalities, yeah.
Right.
But there's so much of just the tooting of the other, supporting the other side, that like, oh well, these folks over here that you would assume vote this way feel this way about all these things, and so therefore, we can back these people because they completely go behind what we want. It's so much more complex and nuanced than that.
Exactly. But it's like it needs to be what do the people want,
right?
And that's what the people are trying to get back to.
Right. Yeah. It's one of the key things about the parliaments in the monarchical sort of systems, so like the UK and like Japan, is the ability for the monarch to dissolve parliament. Right. So that was like a control measure. If parliament was like getting too crazy, then they could dissolve parliament and force an election for the entire parliament again. In a lot of the countries that didn't have monarchs, parliament almost just becomes a congress in the same way. But regardless, I mean, at the end of the day, whatever we feel about Republicans, whatever we feel about Democrats, everybody has a right to have their voice be heard through a vote, right? That's our system. And when you put any sort of obstacles in the way, right, that is a suppression. It is a form of suppression, period, right? Whether it makes sense, it doesn't make sense, anytime you put any obstacle in the way, that is a form of suppression. There could be legitimate suppression. I don't want people to vote if they're not a citizen of the United States, right? So, but there's ways to check for that don't stop people from being able to get to a poll and vote.
Whole communities, right? and
right.
Yeah.
So, and that would be a voter suppression. I am suppressing non-citizens from voting. That's so once you understand that, then everything after that is just like, well, does it make sense at all? Like, why do we need an ID? Look, on your vote ballot, write your social security number. There's only one for every person, and as long as it never doubles up, then someone didn't vote twice. If it doubles up, send a thing. Hey, your vote came in twice. Now I need you to come in with an ID or something, right? So, but yeah. Go ahead, Mo.
The problem has been is that I get people are like, well, what's the big deal about an ID? You have a segment of the population, especially in rural areas, of black women that are of older age that never had to need to get a ID because they had their birth certificate and their social security card. They don't drive. There was never really a need. I mean, hell, women didn't even get the right to have their own checking accounts until the 70s. So that's a whole other tangent. But since that affects particularly poor and African American people, that's where it's like, well, wait a minute. So you're putting this law on the books, and it's affecting this set where they typically vote against you.
Right. And like that older generation are the ones that are more likely to vote anyway, regardless.
Exactly, because there was a time when they weren't allowed to, i.e.
Right.
Jim Crow segregation. So yeah, they're going to make that effort because they have churches that will literally have bus drives that will take these people to the
Souls
polls.
to the polls.
Souls to the polls, absolutely.
Yep.
So, but I mean, unfortunately, that generation is becoming our ancestors. So, even after you put that on the books, now they're trying to find different things. Okay, well, if you don't vote, I'm going to purge your registration because
Like,
you
why?
could have moved.
Like,
you
well,
could have moved. So we're going to take you off the rolls.
Well, then I just won't vote again, like next year and the next time. Yeah, it's all send a letter. Did you move? Like there's all kinds of things you could do.
But like we're still like a hop, skip, and leap from a generation that like that weren't born in hospitals and had birth certificates. Yeah. I'm sorry. Like we in Georgia, back in the Blue Ridge Mountains. I'm sure there's plenty of folks up there that probably still try to vote that don't know their own birth dates because it wasn't like recorded and it's not in a government document. Like we're not that far off from that.
Right. It is.
Right. It's crazy because like going back to my original point about what happens in the African American with black and brown people when it happens to us, it affects y'all.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's happening.
You're poor whites.
Happening. Mm-hmm. It's happening. It's happening. So, because racism was the illusion of racism. Oh, that's just happening in the South. Well, now you have all these other states that are doing the same thing because that's what the Republican Party does. They're very methodical and effective with their suppression. So when they have one bill that passed in one state, they send that same exact bill to another state, and all they do is copy paste and put their state's initials in, and they put that law into the books. They've done that with several other initiatives with abortion, trying to make it damn near impossible for a woman to get an abortion, even though with all this foolishness that's going on, abortions have gone down, even though it's spiked up a little bit. It is half of the women now are getting abortions compared to 40 years ago. But I digress.
And let's get rid of the whole idea of like the North versus the South as far as like who is worse about racism. Let's be real though. Like, don't act like
Jim Crow versus James Crow.
Right. Like let's not forget like housing discrimination was happening in the North too. Like the reasons why we have families separated and on welfare, that was happening in the North and the Midwest. Let's not play, guys. Let's get over that.
Yeah, it's
quiet as it kept. The most segregated state in the union is New York State.
Believe it.
Yeah. All right. Well, what we're gonna do in a minute here is we're gonna get into our final thoughts on the matter, and just kind of leave you guys with some to think about. But first, we're going to take a quick break. And see again what some more of our friends are up to.
Catch me outside, girl. Basically,
how about that?
So apparently she made a post that said, if I'm going to do it, I'm going to do that shit nasty or something like that. And she decided to open her OnlyFans. Her OnlyFans broke the record because she made $1 million in 6 hours.
Good for that queen. Yeah.
Child, like good for you for making that money. And I'm like, listen, if I could do one good fuck video and make $1 million, bitch.
But you know what? What does it say about the people, the men? Well, people.
I go back and forth. This is why I go back and forth.
Because I know there was some nasty 55-year-old men that there was a whole.
All right. So we're going to get here into our last thoughts. What we'll probably do here, I think we're going to start with Ricky and see what Ricky's last thoughts are.
So my main thought process through all of this is this idea of this naivety that we like to project about these laws that we create and the justification for anything that politicians and people of authority make, it's all bullshit. And that's the nicest way I can say that. Like there is an agenda that for reasons for these things to happen. And if you're not sure why, like, pick up a history book, y'all. Not one from Texas though. Like, just, you know, there's writings on why these things and why they're the way they are. Whether it's voting rights, voter suppression, housing discrimination, all that shit. It's not even like that far back. It's a good 50, 60 years, 70 years. Why this shit is the way it is right now. So those are my final thoughts. You can find me. I'm going to go ahead and say mine. You can find me on Instagram at Rickey, RICKEY _Z. And on Twitter at _ Rickey Z, RICKEYZ.
I feel like that means there's like a _Rickey Z.
There is someone right there that's Rickey Z, and I'm like, who the fuck
How
are you?
dare they?
How dare they? Honestly, rude as hell.
I'm gonna find them.
Please do.
Yeah.
Oh,
I'll
no.
probably just talk to him.
no.
I'm not gonna do anything mean to him. I'm just
No,
gonna
because-
find him and just be like, "Hey, I know another Rickey Z," and it'd be. A
No, be
conversation.
like, tell him to delete the Twitter account. That's what I need him to do.
Yeah.
That's what
All
it
right.
is.
All right. So we'll next we'll hear from Jim. If you got any final thoughts there.
Sure, yeah. I don't think we disagreed very much at all on this situation.
No.
It's kind of common sense. But even if we did, I really love the fact that you have a brain to interpret the words that are coming out of my mouth. I can do the same. That's kind of a huge deal. And either if we agree or disagree, you can agree on the fact that that's kind of fucking crazy. And our souls are connected in that way. By the way, I have a show that happens on Nelly Media on Tuesday nights. It's called WHAR's Power Hour and a Half. That's right. They gave me an admin so I could do this shit.
Right. Hey.
So that's on Tuesdays from 8 to 10. There's a phone number you can call. I'm going to throw this back up. So, you know, Tuesdays we get lit from 8 to 10. Come check it out. That's me.
All right.
Yeah.
Cool. Next up, I think we're gonna go to Kristen for your final thoughts and see what you got for us.
Thank you, Danny. What I have to say is, to answer the question, is this measure voter suppression? You simply have to ask and answer, does it suppress? Leave the disingenuous veil and look at, will it suppress votes or not? And in Georgia, the answer is yes. That is my final thought. And my final plug is that I starred in a one-man show that was produced for Theatrical Outfit here in Atlanta, and it is streaming from now until May 2nd. So you can go on and get your virtual quote-unquote ticket, and then you can, it's like a YouTube rental. You know, whenever you start click and play, you have 48 hours to view it until
What is it? Tell us the
until you're
deets.
done. It's called 100 Words for Snow. That's the play. It's about a 15-year-old who is grief-stricken because her father gets killed unexpectedly, and she doesn't think the funeral is enough, so she takes her dad's ashes and takes them to the North Pole.
Wow.
100 words for snow.
100 Words for Snow.
You're great.
Theatricaloutfit.org.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank y'all for having me. This was fun yet again.
Yep. All right, so let's go over to Sam. Give us your final thoughts.
Man,
you hear
Kristen,
this?
that was beautiful. I'm gonna go check that out. Like, I'm excited. And
oh yeah, please. I think it was really good, and I know, like, I'm saying it because I'm in it for the whole time, but it's a really good show.
But also your final thoughts were like, I love it. Succinct. Like, I think my final thoughts are, at the end of the day, it boils down to, this is ingrained in our system. And until we choose to dismantle the system in whatever that way looks like. And it has to be a dismantling on both ends. Someone in the comments said that something about like getting white people to understand it's an everybody's problem, you know? And so until we can really all, especially white people, realize it's an everybody's problem and we can start to dismantle the systems together, we're going to keep having these issues that we're having. And I'm sick of it. I can't even fathom, you know, not being white and having to experience that. So I'm sick of it. I don't care. I don't care what they did. I'm over it. And we got to stop, y'all. We have got to stop. It is a problem. It is. And I just am urging people, especially white people, like, let's talk about it. Let's dig into it. It is our issue. And I'm done.
All right. Hey, thanks, Sam. All right. So, yeah, we're going to hear Mo's last thoughts. She want to go last, but I'm going to reserve that right
said,
as the guest
Danny
host.
asked, does anybody want to go first? Mo said last.
Yeah. But
how dare y'all just snitch on me like that? Just put my business all out on Front Street. But hey, it is what it is. You know, hey, I'm always the last, you know, with the exception of the host, so it's fine. Anywho, my final thoughts. You know, okay. Let me go ahead and have an intimate conversation with white people. White people, I've said this. If it happens to us, eventually it's gonna come for you. Now, let me also add to it that stop allowing these corporations, these rich people, giving you the illusion that you can become rich just like them. The majority of them got paid because they inherited their wealth. And also, you don't know how many people they killed in order to make that wealth. Let's keep it 100 on that as well. You keep allowing us to get divided, and in the end, you're gonna lose because it takes whenever you're trying to bury somebody, i.e., someone that looks like me, even though I look fabulous. You better have two graves ready, one for me and one for you. Let's stop this energy. Let's work together in order to make this happen. Stop hating on poor people. Welfare takes up less than 1% of our national budget. Even if you get rid of every single piece of welfare, guess what? We still paying out a lot of taxes. Stop. You're mad at people because they're getting a $300 extra a week in their unemployment, and they don't want to work shitty ass jobs that makes even shittier pay. The problem is not the people that don't want to work. The problem is the shitty ass bosses that giving these shitty ass wages. So, in closing, everybody vote. Do what you got to do. Since we can't give out water and sandwiches, honey, just bring your own water, bring your own little mini cooler with your own sandwiches. You know it. Look, we know what this isn't the first time we've done this rodeo. Look, injustice anywhere is injustice everywhere. So not only be an ally, be anti-racist. You may not like me and I don't care. Sometimes I don't like you, but at the same time, I still love you enough as a human being. And I want to make sure that your welfare is good because if your well-being is good, guess what? Mine will be too. And make sure, you know, since it's already up on the screen, no matter how small the donation, make sure you check out my Cash App. That is $ MOESMITH P as in Paul RO. and that's also my other social medias. Got to keep it consistent. And and also I'm spelling it out to the people because we are also on Anchor Me and Spotify. Amen, amen. And also check out Sip and Kiki every Sunday night at 10 p.m. right after Married to Medicine. The reunion is here. Real Housewives of Atlanta was real dry. Hopefully this reunion will be very lubricated. All right, children, y'all have a great night. Okay.
All right. Thank you so much, Bo. Powerful words from everybody, as far as I'm concerned. And I agree 100%. So I recently wrote a thing on this, and so I'm just going to read that as my final thoughts. I'm living in Kansas, and every time the local news outfit puts out, something on Facebook, of course, the local population here in Wichita, they all chime in, and it's generally filled with garbage. Unsurprising to me. So recently they posted about the businesses that were kind of vacating out of Georgia, and of course everyone started talking about how voter suppression is not a thing. So I wrote this in there, for all the good it'll do, but it starts with I'd want everybody to stop being so fucking dense, because we're not talking about voter prohibition, right? It's voter suppression. I get it. Everyone can still technically vote. You haven't made it illegal to vote. But that's the straw man argument. The idea is not to make it impossible to vote, but to make it very inconvenient to vote. That's what the suppression is. Lowering ballot drop box locations makes it less convenient. Making people stand in long-ass lines makes it less convenient. Having voter hours shortened makes it less convenient. And for a lot of us, it's just an inconvenience. I get it. But for many marginalized people, these inconveniences add up to make something unimaginably difficult. When you pile on obstacle after obstacle, there will come a point where inconveniences make it absolutely untenable for you to cast your ballot. You can't. And this is the game. This is the game that the lawmakers make, and these laws look neutral outside of any demographical context, right? So if you're not like looking at all the factors, they're common sense laws. They make sense. Jesus, everyone needs an ID. You have an ID, right? And so then when people say it's voter suppression, they point at these things and say how ridiculous it is. But its very nature, anything that limits is a suppression. And if there's enough of them, you're making it impossible. I'm very privileged to have been working in a job for the last 24 years that gave me as much time as I needed to vote. And that's as a soldier in the United States Army. When I was in Afghanistan, we mailed in our votes. No problem, right? But just because that was my story doesn't mean that every employer is going to give people paid time off to vote. And some people can't miss several hours of work to vote because it's just not financially feasible for them. So they have to decide between voting and feeding their kids. And that's if your employer even gives you unpaid time to vote. Not every state requires employers give you time off to vote. And even the ones that do, most of them are at-will employment states, which means they might not be able to fire you for going to vote, but they might just decide, hey, you're not the right fit for our company. And off you go. And there's nothing you can do about that. So then we talk about adding ID requirements. It sounds simple for many of us, but it ignores the practicality of navigating government bureaucracy for an item that, as it was said earlier, you might have no other use for at all. You don't need it for anything, right? So now you've got to get it, and there's all these obstacles in the way. You've got to make sure you have transportation. It costs money. You have to have the time to do it. Now you're adding more time. All of these things. And so we have a situation where it's not impossible to vote, just not practical. And for some people, it can be punishing. And then we gaslight them by saying if it was really important, you'd go vote. If you have a job that'll let you go vote, if you have a car that will take you to the voting center, if you're healthy enough to stand in hours-long lines, then good for you. These are simply minor inconveniences. But let's have a little bit of empathy and think about how these laws might affect you if you didn't have those things. Voting is a right all Americans are supposed to have, not just the ones with cars and time. I am a combat veteran, and people all the time be thanking me for my service. And if that's what you want to do, take a moment to understand how these laws suppress voters. Otherwise, as I write here, shut the fuck up, move out, and draw fire. Supporting suppression isn't gratitude, it's spitting in my face. So that's how I feel about it. There's no need for it. We can do better. That's what I got.
You need to put that on the shirt. I'm serious. Supporting voter suppression is a spit in my face.
For all those support your troop crowd.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. I don't want to hear it. I don't want to hear it. It's an empty thing anyway. A lot of times, right? Like people just see you and they just like say it offhand, and it doesn't even mean anything, right? So they just say it because they got to. And then some people want to stop and talk to you about it, and that's a little more sincere, and But at the end of the day, if you're not being anti-racist, if you're not supporting, I don't want to hear it, because those are the reasons I went, right? Like, no, they weren't, but those are the reasons we like to say I went, right? So,
speak that.
So there we go. Once again, I really want to thank you all for coming. I love Talk It Out. I think it's amazing to sit down and have conversations, and a lot of times we agree on things, and sometimes, there's some disagreements, but we all know where we're coming from. So it's all love, and I really appreciate that. I really appreciate that this is a safe place to talk about things, to talk it out.
There you go. That was a good one.
Yeah. So that's what we got. That's our show. Thanks everybody. Thanks everybody for tuning in. We've got Sips of Kiki on Sundays, and then this Monday we've got Geeking Out. So make sure you check that out. I'm involved with Rem Alternis. We have things all the time too. Tuesday nights you've got. Right now, you got Jim doing some DJ stuff, so call him on the phone and tell him what you want to.
Pew, 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 pew.
Hey, you check out Sam's business, Marley Bears, and go on and check out 100 Words for Snow. I know I'm gonna. So yeah, we'll see everybody. Thanks so much.
We all got things. Yeah.
Hey, and if you need a house, you better call Sam.
Right.
Yep.
Hey, y'all, I'm dropping a video soon. I remade Cardi B's song Up, and I ain't gonna lie, it's kind of fire. I'm not obviously I'm not a lyricist or nothing like that, but the song, for me to not be no lyricist, is still pretty hot. And I got my first $1 million listing, so that's going to be the set of my video shoot.
Damn. You better get permission.
Oh no, I already did. Let me tell you, the owner is excited. Like, she was, because I did a Savage video remake when the Savage Challenge came out, and so I did that. And so I sent her that video, and then I sent her the recording of my Cardi B song, and she was like, fucking do it, man.
Awesome.
Do it.
Nice.
Like, I think she's more excited than me.
I'm there for it. I am there for it.
I'm here for it.
All right.
So watch for the video coming soon.
Ooh,
Okay.
Look, when is the video shoot? We got to talk offline because I want to be in it, honey.
Okay, because I need some, let's talk.
All right.
Okay.
All right. Look, business dealings be happening. All right. So thanks everybody. It was an honor to guest host, and we'll see everybody next time.
I love you.